What is going on, everyone?
Hi, everyone. What's
How
up?
are we? How are we? How are we?
Good. I'm good. How are you feeling on this
I
July 13th?
I am feeling pretty good. Had a nice relaxing weekend.
Very
It was really
nice.
hot. There's a
It was
pretty
hot.
pretty mean heat wave going on here. How's everybody else in the chat doing? How was your weekend?
Yeah, how's everyone's weekend? My AC is still leaking, so I'm just like
No.
intermittently being like, I'm just gonna use it as little as I can, but I still need to use it a little bit, please. It's like 100 degrees outside.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to get my sunshine, but I'm also like, don't want to sit in 100-degree heat right now.
No, I wouldn't either. I'm right there with you. No 100-degree heat for this guy, please. Okay. Well,
Please.
one of the things that we know about this weekend that was really interesting and we'll be talking a lot on was the Ubisoft Forward event that took place. So we will be diving into all of that juicy stuff. But the first thing that we're going to be talking about is how Dungeons and Dragons will be talking about the racism that it has within its universe.
So, Charlie Hall from Polygon reports that in June, Dungeons and Dragons publisher Wizards of the Coast announced that it would take steps to address racist stereotypes in the world's most popular role-playing game. But the problems go deeper than simply cleaning up the image of the black-skinned drow and giving the Vistani, an analog for the Roma people, some dignity. That's because the concept of race itself, and as a game mechanic, is deeply flawed.
And Wizards says it will implement changes this year to how race works in Dungeons & Dragons via a new, as yet unannounced product. But another game designer has already found a way to address D&D's race problems. In fact, the new Zine published by Arcanist Press could serve as the way to forward for the entire gaming industry.
In Ancestry and Culture, an alternative to race in 5th edition, author and designer Eugene Marshall argues that the concept of race in 5th edition D&D isn't just flawed, it's bigoted. He's a lot more gentle with his language than that, however, and doesn't outright call D&D racist, isn't like, out for blood with like torches and pitchforks. But he's more gentle with his language, and that's likely because in addition to writing and designing RPG content for Arcanist and Sigil Entertainment, he's also an associate professor of philosophy. So one of his specialties is the philosophy of games. Marshall's Ancestry and Culture reads more like a scholarly work than a run-of-the-mill splat book. The only thing missing is footnotes and a proper bibliography.
And part of the introduction reads, scientists and philosophers who study race reject the concept of race as a biological fact that discretely individuates groups of people. Race is not a biological reality, rather it is a social concept constructed and employed differently at different times in history and in different places in the world. It's not like eye color, but like citizenship, something that is based in social relations and concepts, not biology. And one of the things to add is, ethnicity is what is true, whereas race isn't. So where someone comes from is what we can all agree on.
Right. So there's like ethnicity and nationality. Let's say if your parents and all of their parents before then are from India, but you were born in the United States, your nationality is American, but your ethnicity, is Indian. But race lumps those two things together and in general, and that doesn't really mean much. And a lot of, people that do study humans say that it's pretty much nothing. Like it's not like rooted in any real science.
Yep.
So it goes on to say, in other words, the concept of race as it has been used from at least the Enlightenment forward to the 20th century is frankly bankrupt. That's not to say there's no such thing as ancestry, heritage, and genetic difference, of course. Indeed, our genetics are real, but they're a function of our individual ancestry, not our race. So what folks call racial differences simply do not map cleanly onto anything in our biology as simplistic as the concept of race. What's more, that concept in the real world has been used to justify historic atrocities. And so when you look at race and see that race itself isn't real, you can't apply race to games either, because that means it's not real in game.
Yeah, and it goes on to proceed actually to lay out a flexible, highly adaptable system that effectively chops up the existing races in D&D and then reassembles them as a lattice work supporting both a narrative role-playing experience and balanced tactile gameplay. The framework goes to great lengths to respect everyone at the table.
So, Marshall's system relies on divorcing biological ancestry from cultural heritage. When creating a character, players don't choose a race. Instead, he proposes they choose the culture in which their character was raised and the ancestry of their parents. Stat bonuses, things like higher intelligence, constitution, or charisma, are derived from culture. Meanwhile, inherited traits, things like speed, height, lifespan, and fantastical abilities like breath weapons or dark vision, are tied to ancestry.
And in gameplay terms, Marshall's design offloads the problematic issue of race in favor of expanded creativity and expression. In role playing terms, it's not only encourages, but requires players to think long and hard about how their character relates to their own environment and to the family that raised them. It does that by embracing the concept of mixed ancestry beyond the previous options of only half elk or half orc.
The text in Ancestry and Culture, in it, Marshall creates a system that is permissive rather than restrictive. D&D spent decades codifying a rule set that reinforces a warped understanding of race already endemic in our culture, even when the rules of the game were revised across 5 editions and for more than 40 years. The original RPG is the Ur game. Is that how I say it? Do you play D&D? Is the Ur game from which modern video games and even movies now flow. We have all been influenced by it in culture in some way, but Ancestry and Culture works to upend that while keeping the game that millions of people love to play around the world whole.
So, this is something that I think anyone who's played D&D can come to a full understanding of, is that there is lots of prejudice within this universe, and that's just natural because we have lots of prejudice in our own reality.
In real life.
Like, you take the elves, for example, they do come with a type of way of looking down upon other societies as they, look at themselves as being these, essentially divine type beings. And there have been other moments in the lore where, genocide has actually been attempted, which is rooted in this idea of racism. And it just depends on who's writing for it, but it is definitely there, and it is for sure has its own presence in the Dungeons and Dragons backdrop.
I wonder what the chat thinks about this, or anyone that has played D&D thinks about this, because from my perspective, I think hey, these are, societal issues, racism exists in real life. I also think that games should also try to combat some of these issues because it's a fictional world and you can do whatever you want. So why would you want to reinforce warped concepts of race? Why would you want to reinforce that if you're light skinned and have blonde hair and blue eyes, that's good, and if you're dark skinned, you're evil and bad? If you just put it that way, people are like, oh yeah, that does sound really yikes. And that is a lot of what fantasy lore includes. There's also different species that might have green skin or whatever, but in a lot of them there's still kind of stereotypes, or you might see that there is a specific culture that was kind of applied onto them. And I think it's cool that Marshall's work, Ancestry and Culture, seeks to separate that while not it's not hindering any element of the game. It's actually making it more complex by allowing for multi ancestry of a character. So you might be able to be half fire breathing, half whatever magic, versus just being restricted to one.
Yeah, and I'll say to IR Dragon's comment there, let's make storytelling politically correct and boring. I don't think that's necessarily what they're trying to go with here. I think one of the things that is being talked about more is the concept of race is one that we've created within our own society. It's not real. Right? If I sign on a piece of paper that says, what is my race? And it says for me to click white, I don't actually want to click that because the background that I come from isn't necessarily that. It's Italian. It has heritage in the Mediterranean. It's why don't I get to pick my ethnicity and I just get this blanket, label? And I think that is what's happening here, is we're seeing more people talk about this. And now we're seeing something that has massive storytelling complexity, as you were saying, that people are just trying to find a way to solve that problem, where it was kind of like the people who originally wrote for this kind of came with that understanding of oh, well, you're white, oh, and you're black, oh, and you're Hispanic, and they kind of, I would say, created their characters with that same mindset. Now we're updating.
Now we're updated. I don't think the creators of D&D or the people who work on it are like racist or they're trying to oppress people at all. I think it is just because it is just really a reflection of their worlds. And I think especially with social media and being able to hear more voices, a lot of people now realize that that's not the world we live in. I also disagree with the let's make storytelling PC and boring, because a lot of people think that female characters as a lead in games is political and that's being PC and boring. But to me, I think it's really boring that all of my favorite horror games all have the same exact middle-aged detective, scruffy beard-looking character, kind of like Leon from Resident Evil, or in The Evil Within, Sebastian, who's the main character in that, and Call of Cthulhu is the same thing, and it's really the same characters over and over again. And so I actually think it's more boring to stick within these cliche stereotypes versus thinking like, hey, this is fiction, we can literally do anything.
Right. Yeah, and I don't think the core elements of like a type of creature like a mind flayer, which its purpose is to, be evil, a type of, probably neutral evil. Some could be chaotic evil, however you want to label it within that those aren't changing, and they're going to have a good perspective when they're an evil creature in terms of their existence, is a destructive one towards others. I think this is more about when a player character is creating their character, they're not limited, because there is an aspect of Dungeons and Dragons that is so much fun, which is the character building. And I think there is a limitation to it in the route of like certain ones can't come together. Like you can be, a half orc, but in other cases there's like other races where you couldn't be that, or you could be more mixed. So because this is a thing we see in our own life where someone can be like, yeah, I have many different, ancestry within my blood. I think they now want to start to entertain, where does the story go when we start to do stuff like this? What stories can our DMs tell, and what stories can our people who are creating these campaigns tell with this new update?
And I wonder how much this is going to open up, the world of D&D players, because when I was looking at footage of D&D players, even huge shows like Critical Role or D&D panels at conventions, it was all white players. There was not anyone who was not just white, because we discussed that there's a lot, there's a lot more to that, and a lot of nuance, but it was just very, I guess, strange to me. There was like not one Asian person, not one Black person, not one Indian person, or Indians are Asians, but you know what I mean? There's only like one specific type of person that seems to play D&D, at least in the media. Yeah. And I wonder if this will kind of help open it up by saying like, oh no, D&D like understands that, there are these stereotypes and prejudices that people face, and they don't want to play a game where they might face those same prejudices and stereotypes. So I wonder if this is going to open up the D&D community, or if this is just something that's just kind of long overdue. That's good to change.
And what does that mean for the future? I'm excited to see their pre-rendered campaigns that they come out with, how they address this, how they update it. I know D&D Beyond, which is their online platform, this will be exciting to build a character on there, to see how this, gets integrated. So hats off to them for, updating, as we see with any type of video game, as D&D is really, truly the foundation of role-play gaming as we know it, came from, the original SRD gameplay. Our next story, though, is one right before we jump into the Ubisoft Forward event. I think there's something that we need to talk about that was something that's still been happening, and it's getting really frustrating. But Ubisoft's in some hot water. However, they have been addressing this issue fairly directly.
So Ubisoft's sexual harassment investigation claims 3 more executives. And this news came out around the same time that they had their big Ubisoft event last weekend. And they kind of put out a statement saying, our event was pre-recorded, so we're not fitting this in, but please don't think we're just ignoring this issue or trying to gloss over it.
Yeah, so the second most powerful executive at the French gaming company Ubisoft is among more senior staff to have left the firm as it pursues an internal investigation into sexual harassment allegations.
Last month, the company, one of the world's largest video game publishers with a portfolio including Assassin's Creed and Far Cry, launched a probe after allegations of sexual misconduct were shared online.
Serge Hascott, chief creative officer and the company's second in command, has resigned, and has the human resources and as the human resources director, Cecil Cornett, and the managing director of the Canadian branch, Giannis Mallet. And Ubisoft announced this on Sunday.
The statement said, quote, "The recent allegations that have come to light in Canada against multiple employees make it impossible for Malott to continue in this position."
Another two top executives left earlier in July after current and former employees used social media to denounce predatory behaviors by managers.
The chief executive and co-founder Yves Guillemot said Ubisoft has fallen short in its obligation to guarantee a safe and inclusive workplace environment for its employees.
He went on to say that this is unacceptable as toxic behaviors are in direct contrast to the values on which I have never compromised and never will.
He was, quote, "committed to implementing profound changes across the company to improve and strengthen the workplace culture." Guillemot would take over Hascote's role temporarily as he oversaw a staffing overhaul.
And Ubisoft has 18,000 employees worldwide, and this is the latest video game company to face sexual harassment allegations. The global game industry has been dogged by criticism over its treatment of women in both games and real life.
This was encapsulated in the so-called Gamergate controversy in 2014, which saw critics of the way women were depicted in games receive death threats and trigger warning rape threats, prompting calls to reform the industry's culture.
I am grateful for the thing that he addressed with this is something I've never compromised and never will. So, for me to see that the co-founder responded to this as fast and as swift as they did. I want to believe there's no knowledge on that individual's part of what was going on because he addressed it so quickly. It really is sad as Algebraic Buckle was saying, it's 2020. How are we still dealing with this?
It's wild, and I think it really says a lot that the second in command of Ubisoft has resigned. Like, that is huge. That is a huge move. I think I would be surprised to see something like this happen 5 years ago. I think it's important that all these people have been coming forward. It's horrible to hear their stories. I'm glad those in power that have contributed to this toxic culture are being rooted out, and hopefully really sets a standard of you can't get away with this. I was reading some articles and they were saying that Ubisoft would have like company parties with like drinking and for launches, people eat, drink, dance, and play games, which a lot of companies have. And I think there is an understanding at those events that I've been to where it's like, this is fun, this is still very professional, like we're all still coworkers here, we're still in the office. But at Ubisoft, according to The Verge, they were saying that it was there was a way for some people to kind of take advantage of like, oh, everyone's dancing, everyone's drinking, like this is a party, this is where those things can happen. And it's really unfortunate that those things did happen there, and I hope this brings to light that it's like you can't act in a non-professional way at your profession.
Yeah, 100%. I echo everything that you just said, and something Buckle just threw in there as well was a point I was going to get to actually, which is like we need to find a place where our bosses are more like leaders. I think there's a beautiful illustration I saw once that showed the difference between a boss and a leader. And one was, the boss was sitting on the backs of everyone dragging the rope to try to cross, the journey and was whipping at them. And a leader is someone at the front who's also holding onto the rope and pulling along. And something I just I want to see more of is people who are in this position of, oh, you're my boss, go, stop calling me that. I know that's a term that you use, but let me actually be a leader. Let me actually be someone who, by the example in which I live and I operate professionally, as well as outside of the workplace, should be the type of behavior that you want from the leader who comes in after me and the one who follows that individual. Like character traits that you begin to grow within your profession so that people who step in after you don't come in and bring back, this type of behavior, because this has just got to stop. I mean, seriously.
It does. It really does. I agree with what you said, about being a leader and being an example and being that person who looks out for your employees. It shouldn't be like, oh, you have the most power, then that's when you can throw your weight around and do whatever you want because no one could touch you because you're the boss. It should be the other way around, that like your job is to give structure to everyone else's position in the company. This reminds me of all the allegations that Riot Games has faced and how some of the original founders had a very maybe like bro culture, and they'd all worked there for so long that that really bled into the rest of the culture. Even just like new people that are probably professional coming into this, and they're like, oh, this is that kind of company, this is the company culture here. I don't think we've seen something similar like that within Ubisoft, but I do think that people just really need to realize that this is a place of work. This isn't your place to party. There is a time and place to do that. There is no time and place ever to harass others. But it's especially doing it at work. It could cost you your entire career. It could cost you your a life of a reputation that you've built. Like, if you're not going to stop doing these things because you're not a good person, like you need to stop them because the consequences are going to, be ruining.
Yeah. And it's, I think we all kind of grow up with the do unto others as you would have done unto you, that golden rule. But I had, a mentor friend of mine, like break it down as the way it was supposed to be understood, which was like, don't do to others what you wouldn't have done to you. Right. It's an easier way to think of the concept of like, if I sit down to eat, it's easier to figure out what I want to eat by saying, this is what I don't want to eat. And in the same context, in this situation is, well, if I was in their shoes, I wouldn't want that done to me. Therefore, I won't do it. So ultimately, the more that people require this to be how we need to live and how we need to operate, I think, it'll become second nature to call it out the moment we see people doing stuff that you're like, you wouldn't want that happening to you.
Right. Yeah. And I think there's also a responsibility of, maybe like you're in a higher up position and your friends are in a higher up position to be like, hey, like you shouldn't just chill out. Like, don't act that way. Like this isn't the place for that. And like, also, kind of keep an eye out for your friends or for people that because when you're surrounded, by this kind of culture all the time, it might be easy to think that that's an okay to do, or you might, really forget how really inappropriate it is. So I also encourage everyone to just kind of check on their friends, to, be there for your coworkers, to speak up when you see something that's inappropriate. And you can do a lot to ensure that this kind of culture doesn't continue.
Amen to that. So, jumping out of that topic and jumping right into what Ubisoft did display in their Ubisoft Forward event, we have a few notable things jumping out at us. And right away is one that when I saw the actor that was in the trailer, I was really excited because I'm already a huge fan of this series, but they officially unveiled the Far Cry 6 trailer.
So we're going to take a look at that trailer, and as expected, while we got the trailer leaked yesterday, this time we have the English version to pour over. It was revealed during the Ubisoft Forward digital event, and if you haven't seen this, you haven't seen the actor that's featured in this, you'll be very excited, especially if you've seen Breaking Bad.
Let's check it out.
Fuerzas ultrapenetrantes, estamos cansados de los farsantes, de los...
It's beautiful, amigo. Perfect, but useless. I have something for you, Diego. Give me your hands.
Papa.
Now, the grenade is simple. It has 4 basic parts. The shell, which contains the explosive, the fuse, the handle, and of course, the pin.
What are you doing?
Breathe, Diego. Breathe. The pin simply holds the handle in place. It is only when you let go that this grenade goes boom. Follow me.
The graphics of this video, by the way, are just
No.
amazing.
Beautiful.
Giancarlo Esposito.
I am El Presidente, which means that someday you will be El Presidente. And our people, they do not know how to be happy. They are torn apart by opinions, noise, indecision, strangled by their own freedoms. And even if you have love in your heart, even if you want what's best for them, if you only want to save them from themselves, they will hate you, Diego. Everything you say, do, believe will be wrong. They will answer you with screams, call you evil, a monster, and give you this. So you tell me, are you evil? Are you a monster? Because our country is like this grenade, except it has two basic parts. Our people and you. And you must clutch them nice and tight, or we all go boom. Do you understand now? Prove it.
Watch more from Far Cry 6.
Okay.
That was one of the best video game trailers I've ever seen. Like, no cap. Like, I was
They-
silent the whole time,
Oh my
like,
god.
locked onto that screen.
Oh man, I'm just so impressed by the storytelling that the Far Cry writers have always been able to do to just capture you in a trailer like that. Oh my god. Oh man.
I'm also really impressed by how far motion capture has gone, because that actor is Giancarlo Esposito from Breaking Bad, and that looked like him in the video game. Like, I wasn't like, oh, it looks like a watered down version. It's
No.
like, no, that's him.
That is him, yeah. And according to the actual Far Cry 6 leak store listing, that was the thing that was leaked. The game takes place on, to answer a question from Algebraic Buckle, it actually takes place on an island of Yala, and it's a tropical paradise where time has stood still for a number of years. This is due to the dictator who rules over the island, Anton Castellero. It's very similar to like a Cuba type feel.
The ruthless dictator plans to let his son rule over the island in his place, restoring the country's former glory at all costs. However, the relentless oppression that the people have seen has pushed them to rebel, and now the island is in chaos. And I think this game also comes out at the perfect time, where you saw the footage of the riots and the protests, like, in the US, like, people do really resonate, like, with these protesters, with rioters, and with the fight for freedom. And at the same time, you see this young child really saying, like, how am I supposed to leave these people? Like, what do you mean you're going to give me a grenade? And like, the internal struggle there. I just think that the storytelling is so compelling. The acting is so good. Also, everything sounds better in this new headset. That just sounded like I was like in a movie theater.
They did it. The sound was great. Hey, what's up, Eric? The thing about this that, like, I love so much is, it's funny, if you watch Breaking Bad and you see Giancarlo Esposito play, Gus. You would say like, oh, it feels
Oh
like
my
I'm
God.
getting another Gus-like performance here, and it's great because he really knows how to deliver in that regard. And I think he hit it on the nose there. Is it a father-son type story? And I think so. It is one of the things that we know of, and this is speculation. We don't have much information on the key story elements. But one thing that we do know is like Far Cry does allow you to play around with morality a little bit. So I'm curious if there's a path you can take as the son where you follow in the father's footsteps and rule as a dictator, or you follow in the footsteps of being more of like a hero and changing the wrongs that your father has done. That would be very cool.
And like I haven't played any of the Far Cry games. I tried to play the previous one, but the Ubisoft launcher, what's the name of it, is like the bane of my existence because the way it connected with like Steam. I bought the game, downloaded the game, and like couldn't play it. But without playing any of the Far Cry games,
You play, yeah.
You play, yes, you play. Or like even not knowing the story, I'm like, this standalone like looks like a phenomenal game. Like let alone it is, you know, the next installment in the Far Cry franchise, which already, you know, holds a lot of it's highly regarded. A lot of people really like those games. It's always, you know, there's a lot of hype, a lot of buzz when a new game launches. So I think this game is set for success.
It is, and the one thing that they do is they take very controversial topics and they gamify them in a way that allows you to kind of, you know, move through what's happening in the world, not necessarily like in agreement, but they make it easier to digest. They always do. They always have a narrative that's very like on the nose with current events or recent events, and they find a way to give you a sense of kind of like freedom, like Just Cause kind of gives you, but they still add some elements of the humor and the relief, because the world, like the last Far Cry that sat with me was the one that's overrun by a cult leader, and that one sat with me really, really, you know, strong and hard to be okay with, because of how much of that I was like, man, this is just like the, you know, the David Koresh of the world, you know, the Charles Mansons of the world, these individuals that have this capability of like taking over people's minds with their charisma and this whole idea of thinking the way that they do. And you see that kind of here in this moment as well, with the father essentially conditioning his son.
That's so true. They're very on the pulse of where we are in culture. And the last Far Cry, I think, was also like in a more rural setting, more kind of in the countryside. And at the same time, it was like American Horror Story Cults came out around the same time. Or there's a lot of like Resident Evil 7, where, you know, stories were about kind of like backwoods America. And I think that they do a good job of somehow being very, very culturally relevant with their games. I also love Coombs's note of, or is it Uplay, like Ubisoft? Because it is Ubisoft, not Ubisoft, but Uplay, not Uplay, which probably just adds to the confusion.
It really does. And yeah, we do need a new Splinter Cell. I've been saying that, I don't know for how long. They did have a type of like animated thing go on where it looked like they crossed over a few of their IPs and Sam Fisher made an appearance.
Yes,
So there was an
that.
appearance of Sam Fisher in Breakpoint. So it may be something that's coming back. There was a rumor thing that we talked about that Sam Fisher might be coming back, but like with like virtual reality. So we'll see what happens. But yes, to Phoenix's point there, oh man, I was hoping for some sort of Splinter Cell thing from this Ubisoft Forward event.
Buckle says the Ubisoft thing was kind of lackluster. I thought that there were a lot of good announcements personally. It happened on a Sunday, which I was kind of surprised. It kind of flew under my radar a little bit.
Yeah.
Because usually on the weekends, I'm like, time to take a break from reading gaming news and just playing games themselves.
Yeah.
And kind of taking a step back from that. But I thought that what, you know, the announcements that happened were pretty exciting. And we have some more news coming up. You know, even our next topic is about a game that we talked about last week that has recently gotten a lot of hype.
So Hyperscape is now in open beta. And this was news that came out that actually surprised a lot of people. They announced the open beta for its upcoming Battle Royale shooter, and it kicks off on PC. The company has also shared a trailer for the beta and a new cinematic trailer detailing some of the game's story. And this came out a part of the Ubisoft Forward presentation that aired on Sunday.
Hyperscape launched first as a technical test on July 2nd, with Ubisoft giving access to some Twitch and YouTube creators so they could stream the game. The launch was a huge success, with Hyperscape rising to the top of the Twitch charts that day. In his experience with the technical test, Nick Strat found the game to be a fun and polished take on the tried and true Battle Royale formula.
And that's one of the things that I've been reading about for this game is like, this adds a fresh element to the Battle Royale genre that we haven't seen yet. It's mainly in the game's speed and pacing, the verticality of the game versus most Battle Royales or wide open space that you're usually moving across. There's a lot of elements of cat and play going on inside of here. And then, cat and mouse, not cat and play. There's a lot of cat and mouse aspects in this. And then just some of the features that the players have. It also looks really cool.
It looks really cool. It fits with the whole, cyberpunk theme. I feel like we're definitely in a cyberpunk phase of what we want to see from games. I'm glad that this game is now in open beta, because when we saw the technical test, I was really wondering, like, so when can we play it? Is this only for, big influencers? Like, is this just a tease? Is it going to be closed beta? Is it going to be like Valorant, where I'm going to have to like beg for drops for 2 weeks before I get access, and then get salty about it? And then when I finally get a drop, I make everyone else salty about it.
Well, what you're going to have to beg for is the Uplay launcher to work, because in order to play this game, you're going to have to use Uplay. So, go ahead and come to terms with that now. But I would say, if you're a Battle Royale fan and you like the look of this could just be some sort of life to the genre that we just kind of need right now by taking the best of a few different worlds and putting it together under one roof.
We do. I'm glad that we're still continuing to see new things from the Battle Royale genre. I feel like we went through a phase of pretty much every Battle Royale just trying to parrot each other, and we've gotten to the point where Warzone and Fortnite are very different, but they still have the same formula with Fortnite-like events, which every game seems to have now. But they have kind of found their own niche and their own corner of the ring to have their audience in.
I installed Uplay to Uplay this Uplay. Yeah, it's
Uplay.
It's really interesting how, and this is just to say something to another point of, like, when you have a launcher that doesn't really like go that well and people just don't like the interface, it can have a massive effect on how many people actually want to play your product. So, there might be a lot of people that go, "Oh, I'd love to play this game. I'll wait till I can download it through Steam."
Yep. I don't need another launcher. I mean, I'm constantly running out of space on, all my hard drives on my SSD. Like, I don't have any space. I'm uninstalling games all the time. Like, don't make me download like a new client, a new launcher. Like, can't everything just be on the same one? Or if I need to use a different one, it better work well and it better be worth it. Like Epic Games, surprisingly, Epic Games has really, held its stake, made its stake. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but like Epic Games is now, a staple on my PC, same as Steam.
Yeah, and you would say 4 or 5 years ago that wasn't the case with Epic. It is now. So they found a way to right that ship and put it in the right direction. And yeah, they've got to figure that out with this game. But if you like it and it's something you want to play, you can jump in, start playing it, tell us your thoughts, share some clips. If you get some really awesome plays, we'll definitely try to throw those in the more we talk about Hyperscape. But I am excited to jump into this game and play it and see how I feel about it.
Me too. Now that it's in open beta, I hope to jump in and get a feel for it myself. But still, we have even more Ubisoft news. It has not ended. This is an Ubisoft day.
No, and we always somehow, if there's possibility of doing so, we include a watch and react. So the last portion of the Daily Gaming News Hour is going to be us sitting down with the Watch Dogs Legions gameplay that has come out. It's like a 20-minute video, so we're going to do lovely watch react to that.
So Ubisoft has finally confirmed a release date for the anticipated Watch Dogs Legion. Of course, Legion was originally supposed to come out this March, but Ubisoft delayed it late last year with some other major games in response to the widespread negative reaction to Ghost Recon Breakpoint, and the game has been floating in limbo since then.
Well, thankfully, the game has reemerged and will finally launch this October. you can check out this new lengthy gameplay trailer, which shows a lot of the game's innovative, quote-unquote, play-as-anyone gimmick.
You're also going to see other key features such as play as anyone, where each character has their own backstory, personality, and skill set, all of which comes into play as you personalize your team. You can swap between characters as you explore an open world online with friends and enjoy free updates of new modes, rewards, and themed events.
They also have something they call Take Back London, which is explore a massive urban open world and visit London's many famous landmarks, including Trafalgar Square. If I said that wrong, I'm so sorry. Big Ben, Tower Bridge, Camden, Piccadilly Circus, or the London Eye.
There's also something called Play Your Way, which is a brand new melee system and a wide range of weapons and abilities. It means that the way you approach combat has real consequences. If you use non-lethal force, the enemy will attempt to subdue and arrest you. If you shoot to kill, you risk having your characters permanently killed.
Whoa, and the last one that they throw out is get the gang together. So giving London back to the people doesn't have to be some heroic solo jaunt, you know? So bring the fight online to join forces with up to 3 friends as you can take on entirely new co-op missions and challenging in-game content.
So we're going to have a watch and react to this video that recently released, and we're going to have our, live immediate reactions, and we encourage you to also be like, whoa, that was cool, whoa, that was boring, and also get your impression of the game as well.
All right, let's take a look.
What the hell is this?
That hurt you more than it hurt me.
Do us a favor and keep it quiet, Dalton.
If they don't shoot me, I won't shoot them. How's that?
Slapping them up.
Love them up.
Yeah, I'm digging the stealth. Yeah, Splinter Cellist.
The graphics looks nice.
Yeah, I do have a fear that this game, the ability for it to deliver is going to be very hard. That's right. As we know in other Watch Dogs games, hacking technology is all about the power of that cell phone in your hand.
Is stealth a big factor in the other games?
It started to become a little bit more in 2. It was there in 1. I would definitely say it looks like they're trying to hone in on it a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. He's like, I'd be like Kaisa in this. I try my hardest to be stealthy, ultimately mess it up, and end up getting into big shootouts. It's what's going to happen regardless of what I want.
I mean, it would make sense that they would use code they've already worked on and established versus, making something new. But I can also get how that can, bore people at the same time. Hey, thank you so much, Kai. Thank you for the donation.
Oh, thank you. Proud to be resisting.
They've got loads of DedSec gear down here. Now, why do you suppose that is?
What? How did they get their hands on it?
I don't know. But someone wants to make it look like DedSec was here.
Shit. You need to proceed with extreme caution, Dalton.
Who are these men in black, anyway?
Nothing identifying. I suspect that's by design.
Oh, thank you so much, Kane, as well.
Thank you, Kane.
Oh, fuck me. The entire place is
I like
rigged to
that
blow.
ability of when the
Jesus,
environment kind of
those
goes into like a
canisters.
tech mode.
Yes,
Exactly, is
yeah.
RDX nitrogen. Enough to level Parliament.
Can you locate a detonator, Bagley?
That's a lot of bombs.
Not exactly, but there's a device streaming a fuckload of encrypted data from the floor above you.
Yeah, that fits the bill. On my way.
Bagley, is that not the detonator?
No, but it's a transmitter sending a signal to a device on the floor above us. Safe to assume that would be the detonator we're looking for.
Oh no, this is the Watchdog Legions.
Their profiles are heavily encrypted. No
This is the
identifying
Ubisoft Forward
information.
event.
Ghosts in this system.
We gonna see more combat?
Cool.
They've staged DedSec propaganda all around the bombs. These pricks are gonna blow up Parliament and hang it on us.
Not
Hello.
if you get to that detonator first.
Welcome.
What's up?
Go into the city.
He made it look so easy to kick down a gate.
Yeah.
Right in the House of Commons. Whoever these men in black are, they've got brass bollocks to set up in the centre of government.
Oh, it looks like they skipped something there for they didn't want to show us.
Bagley, update.
Let's just say I'm both impressed and
Secret.
annoyed by how
Yeah.
sophisticated
Story
Saudi
stuff,
Tavern
hide it.
security is. Still working.
Don't show it!
Oh, here we go, some gunplay.
Bagley, tell me you're close.
I'm through security, now wading through
Nice.
terabytes of decoy code looking for the detonation sequence.
Oh.
It's always so difficult for me to gauge how hard a game
Switch to
is.
Verizon.
Oh my
$700
God.
Footage
off
of
our
it.
best phone.
They would, of course, do this. Lovely.
Hashtag not sponsored.
Hashtag not sponsored.
We are not being paid to run these ads.
Problem, Dalton. I need your physical appendages now.
Yeah, I'm getting a very strong Splinter Cell and Ghost Recon Breakpoint feel here.
Sabine, what's going on?
We're being raided. It's a bloodbath. Her protocol is to wipe everything, including Bagley.
I need him for the transmitter.
I know, but if they get him, they get everything. Names, ops, locations.
Okay,
have to wipe
I'll do it the
Bagley.
old-fashioned way. Wipe him.
Yes, wipe me.
Do it, Sabine, and get the hell out of there.
Fuck. Okay,
Do it!
Bagley's down.
Do it!
You're on your own. Dalton, if this goes,
It won't. I'll see you at the rally point. I promise.
good luck.
Now remember, this is play as anyone, so this character we might be seeing
It
here
is.
could be very temporary.
Great point. I'm saying, wait, is Ubisoft putting mid-rolls in their videos?
Finding cover.
The sound's pretty good. Yeah, that's that same over-the-shoulder shot I've seen in many play sessions of Breakpoint Wildlands.
The gameplay seems really fun so far.
Yeah, it does.
You mentioned that there were some some reservations that people had about this game.
That it'll live up to play as anyone.
Well, now that DedSec's risen
And
from
that
the
future will
ashes of
actually
Smoldering
do
City,
it.
let's do
Yeah.
what Dalton would have wanted.
And it
Roll
won't
up
be
our
a gimmick,
sleeves and
it'll
get to
actually be like
unfucking
more of
London.
it.
Yeah.
I'm taking the
Integral
liberty of
part
adding
of the
2
game.
promising leads to your app.
Okay, got a Villains of London.
Main missions. Oh, lots of different technologies. AR
Yeah.
cloak. New operative.
This is strange. One of our servers is being pinged constantly
Is
from
this
the
the same
Wi-Fi
person
of a
dressed
particular
differently, or
Star
is
Roger
this
No,
coffee.
this is a different person.
Yes, I thought it was noise at first too, but then I decoded the pings. It's Morse code. 3 letters repeating over and over.
Keep talking.
S-O. Wait for it. S.
Time to investigate. Send me those coordinates.
I think this is like a almost full recreation of London. I know they put in a lot of like landmarks that are already there, real ones. So I'm wonder how much of London they mapped into this.
I love when cities are recreated in games. Even playing The Last of Us, it starts out in Boston. I was like, hey, I know that place. Hey, I've been to that, train station.
Yeah.
Makes it just so much cooler.
So it looks like you can get like 4 people to pick from. As you could-
Hacktivist. Hitman.
You good? I got you.
Hello there. Have you got an hour to set the world right?
Anytime, anywhere.
Color blindness mode. Cool.
Oh yeah, of course they have a massive map.
Jeez.
Oh.
Smelly, straight out of a donkey's arse.
Get away!
What is this, GTA?
Oh yeah, and you gotta drive on the left side of the road. Yeah, there's a lot of this very much has similarities to GTA.
It feels like it. GTA crossed with Splinter Cell, crossed with Breakpoint.
And I believe the whole play as anyone is like any of these NPCs that you see here, you can hack their phone and take them over. Like
And they
any
put
of them.
in a good amount. Yeah, they put in a good amount of NPCs too. I was wondering if that'll mean that there won't really be NPCs, but it seems like
That's
they've
the sound
really
of organic beer being grown.
populated the city. It could become the answer to the lack of GTA 6, at least for now.
Yeah.
Combs is fully giga stealing one of the double-decker buses.
Yeah, I would love to see the double-decker bus also get.
GTA double-decker
stolen.
bus London edition.
I can't wait to see the first like playthrough where the mission of the double-decker actually gets included.
Yes.
Mom? A flip phone.
Is it the signal
Well,
coming from the wing?
this brings back memories.
It's a cryptophone. It's secure. Every device on CTOS can be compromised. If we're overheard, we're dead. Both of us.
Who the hell is this?
Not important. What matters is that I have inside information on SIRS, and I believe the people who framed you are rogue officers. And loath as I am to say it, DedSec may be my only hope to stop them.
All right, we'll listen. But that's all for now.
Good. I hid coordinates to a meeting place on a device in that establishment.
Bagley, Sabine, walk me through this. What do you think?
All right, that's a wrinkle. So this SIRS bloke says Zero Day are a bunch of Secret Service dickheads. I mean,
Can I help?
suppose it does make sense. The bombings were too sophisticated for randos, but SIRS could pull it off.
Officially, SIRS, or the Signals Intelligence Response Service, uses surveillance data drawn from CTOS to identify large-scale terrorist and criminal threats. Then they send Albion to shoot the threats in the face. For example,
And in the wake of escalating violence in London, the SIRS is extending the right to use lethal force to law enforcement and
great.
security.
Lethal force to
SIRS uses your
police.
data to read your mind and arrest you for having naughty
Always ends
thoughts.
well.
So we have
Right.
means and opportunity, which leaves
There's a lot of
motive.
story here. I feel like
SIRS are
there's
fascist
so
pricks,
much
but
like
they're supposed to
dialogue,
stop
so much
groups
happening
like
with the new
Zero Day from
missions.
doing
Yeah.
terrorist shite. Why cause one?
What is that?
When you meet this guy, ask.
The massive drone flying around and took it over? I love it.
Cool.
You're braking. Ease up. My drone coming through.
Oh, is that drone as big as a car?
Looks like it.
I thought it was gonna be like normal drone size.
No way. Wow.
I feel like I would just spend all my time flying around on my drone.
That's really cool.
That's all I would do. I'm not here to drive buses. I'm here to pilot drones. Bruh! There's a seatbelt on that.
They didn't show anything from quarantine. We'd be going to check back to see, but I don't think anything from Rainbow Six Quarantine was shown. This is already a cool feature to me that I'm like, I want to do this. I look down upon you, London, me and my drone.
What would you do if we had a date on a drone flying over London meme?
Problem. There's been some sort of fight here. Our contact is missing.
SIRS may be onto him. If you get access to the area's surveillance infrastructure, I can rebuild the scene in AR.
I'll make it happen.
We're gonna see it like The Division. Man, they're taking like if they're about to do this, they're taking elements that work from all of their titles and just putting it under this one roof.
Smart.
Hey, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome, DGN fan.
Welcome.
This will be like the first thing I want to do. Where's that drone from the gameplay trailer? I'm getting around like this from now on.
Drones. So far, I'm impressed from what
Yeah.
I've seen of the gameplay from this game. You know, there are some people saying like, "Oh, like I don't know, this game has been delayed." Like, I don't know if that just means that there's like so much to work on that it's not going to turn out great. But from what we've seen of all this gameplay, this looks really fun.
Yeah. I don't remember anything from Watch Dogs where the drone was a feature that you had, like you could ride on it. So I don't remember that.
And while it does still say work in progress on the screen, honestly, this looks like a finished product to me.
Yeah.
I'm like, it looks great.
October is not too far away.
It's
so
coming soon.
I would hope so. I'm glad we're not seeing like any like noticeable bugs.
Right, not like the Assassin's Creed Valhalla leak where there were just like NPCs just like not doing anything or like looking very looking very NPC like.
Someone's like dying in front of them and they're just like.
Right.
That's done it. Now return to the scene and I'll reconstruct what happened to our contact.
Yo, can I ask what you're doing here?
I ain't seen nothing, Gov.
What you mean?
Wait, you don't look... Oh, bollocks. You're undercover, aren't you? Trying to see if I'll talk, eh? Ain't gonna happen.
It's all good. Take it easy.
I ain't seen nothing.
Wait, undercover while he's in a full-on police outfit?
CTOS-AR. Data reconstruction in progress.
That appears to be our contact.
Looks exactly like an Echo from The Division. Exactly like it.
Ooh.
Jesus.
Yes, it certainly doesn't look like
Yeah.
his best day, does it? Analyze the clues in the AR workspace to
I
find
hear
out
that,
what happened
Kane.
to him.
All the quarantining and social distancing,
This
games
is
like
a
this
non-lethal
are
weapon, so
a
odds are
wonderful
he's still
escape.
alive, though he may not want to be.
This part looks very super hotty.
Yeah. You know, I'm okay with taking
taken
taking
our
something
SRS
you've
contact
already
away, but they may still be
established and
nearby.
done well
I
and,
can
and
reconstruct the
reuse
vehicle's
it.
path from unsecured CCTV
This has been kind of a
recordings.
theme of like
That should allow you to follow
it's
it.
great to, you know, pick the best parts of previous games that have done well and put them all together to make a new game that's like extra good. Like I don't think there's anything bad with that. I don't think that, you know, developers need to recreate the wheel with everything that's out. Something that people like and works, like why not create just like more of that?
Agreed. And it probably saves them development time.
Because a lot of these things are already, you know, programmed or it's easier to work with.
Yeah. So that was their gameplay breakdown. It did push us a little past the 2 p.m. time. I will say I am intrigued with Watchdog Legions, and I'm excited to see more as they, you know, roll out more come October time.
Me too. It looks really good. I wonder if all the key features will pan out to be as exciting as they are, such as the co-op play and being able to, you know, have missions and endgame content that you could play with your friends in this world. I really like how the melee system really, you know, adapts to your, you know, how you fight. Where if you do pull out a gun, someone's gonna pull out a gun on you. Like if you try to beat someone up, they're probably not gonna, you know, do that. I think is a cool feature. I like how games are getting more complex and multifaceted, and they have a lot of these like, you know, new cool things in them that we often haven't seen before in games or that we haven't really seen enough of.
Yep. So fingers crossed it lives up to the hype. We have seen Watch Dogs in the past not do that. So we'll see. But for tomorrow, we'll leave you with this, is we are going to be talking about why Amazon's game New World has gotten delayed a whole year.
And that's news that kind of piggybacks on the Amazon game that was put back into beta after being, you know, open to the public. And then we'll also touch on how Brawlhalla is coming to mobile devices this summer, which was also announced at the Ubisoft Forward live stream.
And of course, there will be more. So tune in tomorrow from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, where the daily gaming news hour is live. But you can also check us out on YouTube if you've missed any of our live episodes.
Thank you so much for joining us. If you're watching a VOD or pre-recording, be sure to join us from 1 to 2 p.m. Pacific, where you can engage with the chat. We've got a lot of people chatting, live reactions, you know, gamers talking games in here. And we are live every single weekday from 1 to 2. So be sure to, you know, keep in touch, stay in the loop. We talk about that gaming news every single day.
Yes. So everybody, I am Roan.
I am Kaisa. Thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to being back here right with you tomorrow.
We'll see you all tomorrow, DGN fam.